The EU has and continues to be a global player, marshalling resources and galvanizing political will in resolving emerging global challenges. Those values may have formed the basis of their long-standing partnerships with development partners like the Gambia, leading to their award of the Nobel Peace Prize in 2012.
The Gambia welcomes the resumption in July 2013 of the political dialogue, which serves as a forum for the frank and honest discussions between government and the European Union. The government of the Gambia regards the EU as a strategic partner and is willing to work hand in hand with the Union to establish and nurture a working relationship that is based on mutual respect, taking into consideration our respective values and norms. Honorable Minister and distinguished guests, over the years, the EU has been a major partner in the government of the Gambia in realization of our key national projects, such as the EU MDG initiatives, Global Climate Change Alliance project, drainage, sanitation and waste management projects, governance program, and the nearly completed 273-kilometer road project.
2014 is a special year for the EU. 10 years ago, 10 new members joined our union. The 2004 enlargement was a crucial step toward overcoming decades of division on our continent. Since then, 3 new members have joined the EU, a testimony to the continuing attraction of closer ties to the EU.
It is certainly a moment to celebrate the achievements and outcomes of what began as a decisive decision by one man, but equally an opportunity to look ahead on how those gains could be further consolidated in promoting global peace. Samuel Bah, GRTS.
The GPA management has observed with great concern the laying of fishing nets along the Banjul-Bara ferry channels, thereby posing great risk to the vessels and passengers. A press release from the GPA states the sudden spate of sprawling activities by fishermen along the route should stop to protect our national assets. Fishermen along this route are hereby advised to cease from such technical efficiencies of the ferries. The Gambia Ports Authority, the release states that it counts on the cooperation of all fishermen in ensuring a safe and reliable ferry services. The GPA solicits the cooperation of all, it concludes. There is a sigh of relief at least for now. Parents of the abducted girls in Nigeria are now wondering what's next after a video purportedly from Boko Haram showed more than 100 girls on Monday. In the Gambia, the Nigerian High Commissioner urged all Nigerians to observe 3 days of fasting. As we hear in this report by Aissatou Bajansar, the prayer vigil was open to all religious denominations.
Prayers, they said, conquers all. So in times of distress, the faithful resort to praying, and in most times with fasting, to invoke God's blessing and guidance. Such was the case for the Nigerian community in the Gambia. The Nigerian High Commissioner spearheaded the 3-day fasting and prayer to invoke God's blessing and guidance for the release of over 200 girls abducted by the terrorist group Boko Haram almost a month ago in Chibok in northern Nigeria.
I'm happy to let you know that Nigerians, Gambians and other nationals are here today in solidarity with Nigeria. Many are here to participate in this prayer session to end terrorism. Some among you have participated in the 3 days fasting and prayer. Some are joining us today in solidarity. I sincerely thank you all, Nigerians and non-Nigerians, that are here today.
A solidarity move which goes to show that though 1,000 miles from home, the abduction of the girls affected them too, and a case for concern to all.
The destruction and adoption that has taken place in Nigeria and many other African countries and some parts of the world is not acceptable. We want it to stop, and we'll do all we can for peace and love to reign in Nigeria, in Africa, and in the whole world.
As the Muslims gather in a room reciting the Holy Quran, the Christians were also at it, clasping their hand in supplication, invoking God's intervention and for the safe return of the girls to their families. It was a very emotional and symbolic prayer session, a patriotic and bold move to demonstrate one's love for peace to reign in Nigeria. Aissatou Badiane Sarr, Grts.
The National Environment Agency, NEA, stakeholder, government institutions and the private sector have been working on an initiative aimed at reducing the indiscriminate discharge of plastic waste into the environment. As part of this initiative, 15 May has been earmarked for the commemoration of the Gambia No Plastic Day. A press release from the National Environment Agency states that the date is used to raise awareness to ensure responsible waste management in general and plastic waste in particular. It is against this backdrop that the agency informs the general public, particularly individuals and companies engaged in water packaging, local plastic manufacturing, plastic importers and youth groups within the Greater Banjul area, that this year's No Plastic Day is scheduled for Thursday, 15 May 2014. The celebration will be marked by a clean-up exercise along Westfield Banjul highways, particularly targeting plastics. A news release from the National Environment Agency called on all stakeholders who signed the Memorandum of Understanding with the agency to come out in their numbers and grace the important occasion. The release further urged all to assemble at NEA's head office along Jimpex Road, Kanifing, before the start of activity at 9 a.m. prompt. It ends. Some of the abducted girls have been sighted on Monday, a video purportedly from Boko Haram seems to suggest. So what's next? After this, the protagonists in South Sudan blame each other for violating a ceasefire agreement. Find out what happened after the break. Welcome back. A new video purportedly from Nigeria's militant group Boko Haram has emerged. The video showing some of the abducted girls was released on Monday by the French news agency. Withdrawing from his earlier rhetoric, the leader of the terrorist group in Nigeria says it is willing to release the abducted girls provided the government in Abuja release Boko Haram prisoners under custody. As we hear in this report by CNN's Nima El-Bagir, the situation is tense in the areas where Boko Haram's main mercenaries live.
Are now willing to travel. Attacks by the militant Islamist group Boko Haram are constant in this part of Nigeria. But what happened in Chibok put the world on notice. In here, in these rooms, is where the girls were sleeping when armed men in what they describe as military uniforms came to their dormitory gate and told them that they'd come to protect them. The girls started to assemble in the yard as ordered to. They didn't realize who the men really were until it was too late.
They said, okay, we entered this lorry.
This girl managed to escape. She's now too fearful to show her face. Too fearful to go back.
Big lorry.
Big lorry?
Yes.
They came with a big lorry?
Yes.
Was it one or more?
7.
7 lorries?
Yes.
Trucks, motorbikes. Residents here tell us this raid was effectively a shopping trip for Boko Haram. Over 200 girls dragged from their beds to be sold off as bounty. A message that the militant group's edicts on female education must be heeded. But a way also for big men with guns to make money off terrified girls.
If in Chibok, I will never go again.
You'll never go back to school?
Yes.
Because they made you afraid?
Yes.
Before the militants left, they destroyed everything they could. Textbooks, the library, the laboratory, their attempt to forever shutter this school. Elizabeth and Mary are friends, members of the same church. Their daughters were also friends, hoping one day to study medicine. They and many of their classmates never made it home from school.
We are pleasing them to leave our doctors. We don't have power to collect it with our powers.
They say they still feel powerless, no closer to finding their daughters nearly a month after they were taken. what many of the villagers we spoke to told us that they had in fact received warning phone calls from friends and families in the surrounding villages, Chris,